What's up, VC? What's up, vinyl community? It's Dan, the Vinyl Geezer, hanging out with you for at least one more video. This video, we're going to be digging in to that 80s vibe. So initially, this was going to be a synth pop video because it's like there, and it's like we've got to do it at some point. Then the more I got into it, the more I really just wanted to talk about some 80s records. Not only 80s records, though. The reason this is called the 80s vibe is because one of these records came out this year, actually. And we're going to be getting to that one soon. But what this was initially going to be was like just a synth pop. So it was going to be like last weekend I talked about metal, one of my favorite genres. This week I was going to talk about synth pop, my second favorite genre probably. And sometimes it battles metal for my favorite. I don't exactly know why I love synth pop so much. It probably has something to do with I'm part of the MTV generation. I remember when it was a brand new thing. And yeah, I just remember watching a lot of MTV. I'm not going to be one of those Gen Xers that's going to be like, I remember when MTV only played music. You know, one of these days, that's the way it's going to be. I remember when, you know, yeah, I was there 2,000 years ago. The whole thing, yeah. It's going to happen. We're going to be old men and women complaining about MTV. But the fact of the matter is it was such a huge part of the 80s kid life, the Gen Xer life. MTV was it. I mean, I watched it constantly. I watched Headbangers Ball. I watched 120 Minutes. I watched the Top 10. I watched Remote Control. I watched MTV all the time. Yo MTV Raps. I watched everything. And I think part of that love that I have for synth pop and 80s pop comes from that. It just takes me back. It's like each one of these records is kind of like its own little time machine. But anyway, I pulled 5 records, and we're trying to keep this a little shorter than the last video that I made. I know I've been rambling a lot in my videos. So with no further ado, let's talk about 5 records that have that 80s vibe. So some recommendations. If you don't have these records, these might be good ones to add to your collection. So anyway, let's go back to 1982. Over 40 years ago, folks. Simple Minds, New Gold Dream, 81, 82, 83, 84. Phenomenal record. Love the artwork on this one. This is this whole like textured looking wallpaper here. I'm pretty sure this is the pattern that my grandma had in her bathroom in the 80s. I know I've seen these colors and I know I've seen that wallpaper. So yeah, Simple Minds, New Gold Dream, 82, 81, 82, 83, 84. You'll see this on a lot of top synth pop records in the 1980s. Or, you know, 80s synth pop that'll get you going. I hear synth, I hear pop, but does that constitute a synth pop record? Not necessarily. Just because it's poppy, and just because it has synth in it, it does not truly grasp what I would call a synth pop record. But it's probably a good gateway drug into synth pop, or a way to branch outside kind of like synth pop into some different kind of artistic pop, new wave. Definitely. So my first thought in revisiting this told me, nah, not synth pop. But after a listen, it does kind of skirt the line. So Jim Carr's vocals, let's talk about it. They aren't forward in the mix on this record. They're not as pushed forward. So he really, and it's drenched with reverb. There's a lot of reverb on Jim Carr's vocals on this record. And it kind of, I don't know, he uses his voice more of an instrument than necessarily a chance to shine like you would see like on maybe some of their later albums. This kind of in the sparkle in the rain kind of thing, where his vocals aren't as forward in the mix. Once you get to Once Upon a Time, his vocals go completely forward in the mix. He sings so passionately, and this is just one thing that he knows how to do very well. Jim Carr is a very, very technically proficient singer. I mean, even now, he still sounds great. So, some highlights of this record. We'll go through a couple of them. Somewhere, Someone, Somewhere in Summertime. This is like just passion all the way through. Jim Carr, he's got that baritone. He sings with such passion. He sings with such heart in this. The song gives you the feels. It's one of those songs that it just makes you feel like early love, bittersweet moments, longing. It's all here. And the verse seems to build. It kind of builds on itself forever. And then when you hit the chorus, it never goes fully open. It never fully opens up. And it just kind of holds back. And there's something about that. The song doesn't really reveal itself to you 100%. It keeps it mysterious, as the song is. Mel Gaynor was the drummer on this record. He kind of played it perfectly, playing that hi-hat, never letting that hi-hat fully open, just kind of keeping it kind of just a steady beat on that hi-hat. It kind of tamed the passion. But with that, you've got this feeling in this song. So someone, somewhere in summertime. It's side one, track one. Phenomenal stuff. Check it out on YouTube. Song Promise You a Miracle. We're starting to get into that synth pop kind of territory, which we didn't really get into in Someone, Somewhere in Summertime. This song, it was one of the hits. Upbeat, catchy. It's kind of repetitive. Once again, though, Carr sings with amazing passion and emotion, and almost to the point of being over emotional and like kind of saccharine. Just love it so much. Simple Minds, New Gold Dream, 81, 82, 83, 84. If you ever see this out, which I don't see this out that often, pick it up. Maybe Discogs it. It's great stuff. All right, so now we're getting into one of my favorite bands of not just the 80s, just of all time. These guys are in my top 10. And I have each one of their studio albums, and I'm working on collecting all of their EPs, greatest hits, 12-inch singles, stuff like that, and anything in the 12-inch area. If you guys have anything, hit me up. I would love to do some trading, because I collect these guys. It's Talk, It's My Life, 1984. Funny thing is, bought this record, I want to say back 2014 at a bookstore in St. Louis, and you'll see this right here in the corner. Nope, this corner. See that? That means $1. Bought this for $1. That's how they used to go, though. But anyway, I just bought this because when I worked in radio, I knew the song "It's My Life," and that's the only song that I knew, and it just happened to be this album. So 2014 really opened up the doors to Talk to me. Is it synth pop? Yes. It's a synth, probably their last synth pop album. 1986, Color of Spring would come out. It would focus less on that use of synth and more on like conventional instrumentation and organ on a lot of the tracks on that one. Instead of like the pads and the kind of strings, synth strings. Really, if you get a chance, watch Live at Montreux. It's on YouTube, and you can kind of see exactly what Talk was about. Amazing stuff. So the highlights on this one, two of my favorite songs are slow. They're slow songs. One of them's a ballad. It's called Renee. It's not a traditional kind of ballad. Mark Hollis had this voice that was just smooth as silk. Beautiful voice. It really shines on this song. He really shows that control. It's a sad ballad, but it's not one for longing. It's more of a guilty ballad. Like he's upset that he hurt somebody. Shows control, minimal use of like percussion during the verses. So it's just kind of it's really depending on the instrumentation. It's light, it's airy, it's atmospheric. Also, there's some trumpet in here. It's light trumpet. It's kind of like almost reminiscent of something you might hear on like Miles Davis's sketches of Spain, just kind of these long sustained notes, but they add this emotion to it. So Renee, killer song off of this. Another is a side 2 track 1, which I'm gonna end up doing a video of side 2 track 1s because a lot of side 2 track 1s are some of my favorite songs. The song is called Tomorrow Started. It's kind of a mid-tempo song. It's kind of slowish though, still ethereal, and the arrangement on this is phenomenal. There's some nice subdued guitar. Less is more when it comes to Talk, especially when you hear this record if you're a fan of like Spirit of Eden or Laughing Stock, and you go back and you listen to this, you see that the seeds were kind of planted in this record for that post-rock sound that they would kind of define. Hollis's genius really starts to show in this one. That song Tomorrow Started highlights that, and also trumpet is back in this one, and we got to talk about this fretless bass that's happening in this. Mick Karn of the band Japan, and he also did a lot of studio work. People like Gary Newman and other 80s bands. He had this fretless bass, and I'm sure that was part of the inspiration, if you will, for this. So a lot of that inspiration happening, and probably my favorite track on the record right now, at least right now, is Such a Shame, and it just has this great tension building and in the verse, and it just continues to build, and we hit the chorus, and there's just this great little synth hook going on. So great lyrics, great arrangements. If this is synth pop and you don't like synth pop, this is synth pop at its highest form. This is at its best. It's artistic, it's beautiful, and it's subdued. It's not quite as poppy and kind of really trying to do that. Talk is an amazing band. They're so, I don't know. Mark Hollis, R.I.P. man. It's just too bad we lost him. I would have loved to see more from him as well, because I think his last album came out in the 90s. So anyway, can't recommend them enough. Can't recommend that album enough. Talk, It's My Life, 1984. All right, so let's fast forward almost 40 years, and let's get into this. I'm not going to shut up about these guys. It's never going to happen. Synth pop duo, dark wave duo, electronic pop is what they call themselves, from Philadelphia, and that's Corrine. And the name of this album is Tear. This is their brand new album on this beautiful, like, kind of cobalt blue vinyl. Okay, the thumbnail of my video, it says vibe, right? Not everything is 80s. This is it. So these guys are starting to stretch their legs a bit on this newest record. I'm hearing more guitar. I'm hearing more bass than before. You also hear a lot of that New Order influence, along with some influences from other bands like Depeche Mode, Naked Eyes, Yazoo. Morgie, the singer, has an unconventional voice. They really know how to match their emotion to the music. They have this beautiful kind of pouty whine that works with the songs. With this latest one, they let you know they're not going anywhere. And you guys just might as well just get on the train for Corrine. It's great stuff. I highly recommend it. Watch, just type it in. Go now. It's fine. I'll be here. Go, type it in. Come back. And just hear me lay praise on this. So I'm gonna hit you with some highlights. Listen to this album yesterday like 3 or 4 times, and I just can't get sick of it. I've listened to this record 10 or 11 times. 12 times since it came in. Some highlights. Burn the World. It's guitar here. Takes me back to those New Order vibes I was telling you about. Cleaner guitar, though, than you would have Bernard Sumner used a Vox AC30. This is probably like a Roland Jazz Chorus or like a Fender Deluxe Reverb that he's using. And I love this song. Morgie's voice is just great, and their lyrics are awesome. And this song begins with a question. This is what you mean when you said we're all made of experience? Gotta love a song that begins with a question. I don't know how they do it, but they make this music sound like you heard it in 1988. You would believe it. But while you would simultaneously believe that it's fresh and new, that you would hear it today. So it's a very catchy song. Great use of dynamics here. These subdued kind of verses flow into a driving kind of wall of sound chorus, and huge hooks going on here. The song called Train to Harlem on this, it's just real big, dancey, bouncy sounds, got a nice driving bass line in the verses, but it has that kind of synthy dark wave tinge that I was telling you about, that Alan Wilder, Depeche Mode kind of era you might hear on like Music for the Masses or Black Celebration. It's a catchy song, but no, there's like no big hooky chorus in it. It's like the whole song itself is this hook. So I kept lifting the needle on this one and kind of backing it up and listening to it again. It's a side 2, track 2 song. Morgie's voice, they're more forward in this song, and I like that. And I love the way they sing you. Morgie will say you, yo. It kind of has this yo sound. It's great. It's almost like a false British accent as well. Song on here called Chimera, and for some reason when I heard this, I was thinking like, this sounds like a Bryan Adams song. It's like that Bryan Adams tone. It sounds like the beginning to a Bryan Adams song, but it goes into synth pop kind of thing, and it just kind of has this kind of heartbreaking feeling. It has a great beat, big gated snare, reverb drenched vocals, synth strings. I mean, this is what's not to like in this one. So if you dig 80s, you will dig it. And even if you don't, just take some time. Check out Kareen. I'll put a link in the description below for Kareen. Their latest album called Tear, or is it Tear? Both spelled the same. Alright, so, remember I was talking about Alan Wilder era Depeche Mode? Does it get much better than Black Celebration? I have all of their albums. This is a go-to Depeche Mode record for me. It's very dark, very brooding. Some of the sounds you hear in this are like very industrial sounding. Soundscapes just kind of bites and stings you the whole time you're listening to it. Alan Wilder, Depeche Mode, some of my favorite Depeche Mode. But it's funny because two of my favorite albums by Depeche Mode have no Alan Wilder, and that would be like Ultra and Playing the Angel. But I can't wait for Memento Mori to come out, the new Depeche Mode. So I'm just gonna buzz through quickly some highlights of this. Fly on the Windscreen. It opens up the track Death is Everywhere, There Are Flies on the Windscreen. Kind of dark. Kind of a remind us we could be torn apart tonight. That's what it says. So, yeah, very dark. No super hooks, but it's just more of a mood song. Question of Love. Question of Lust, rather. Martin Gore sings, and I love Martin Gore songs. Home, one of my favorite songs by Depeche Mode off of Ultra. He's got this great vibrato to his voice, and it's fully on display in A Question of Lust. And this brings the hooks. This song gets into my head. It's one of those earworms, if you will. And Stripped, by far, you can't talk about Black Celebration if you're not talking about the song Stripped. It's my favorite. Let me see you stripped down to the bone. Yes. It kind of has that feeling of this like impending doom. It's one of the darkest songs from Depeche Mode. It looks like he's inviting someone on an adventure where they're guaranteed to become someone different by the end of it, but you want to go, it's just great. Depeche Mode sampled a motorcycle sound for the initial percussion sound. I wanted to know like how they got that sound, and there it was, according to Wikipedia. Anyway, Depeche Mode. If you want to try out some sea legs for synth pop, this would be one to definitely get into. I know a lot of metal dudes that love Depeche Mode. I'm one of them. All right. Last, certainly not least, this video is going a lot longer than I wanted to. You remember me, I was talking about Mick Karn and his fretless bass. Well, Mick Karn is the bass player for this band. Well, was the bass player for this band. Rest in peace, Mick Karn. This is Japan and their 1981 album, Tin Drum. It would be their final album. So, very cool record here. It's quirky. It's art. It's arty, it's bizarre, and it's one of the most original albums that I own. No one sounds like Japan, and if they do, it's just imitation. And it was intentional. So imagine like David Sylvian is kind of like David Bowie mixed with Brian Ferry from Roxy Music, but then like he's also himself. Let me see here. Mick Karn and David Sylvian together are amazing. It's the way it is. If you like Primus, you'll more than likely love the bass lines that you're going to hear on this. I am sure that Les Claypool knows exactly who Mick Karn is because you can actually hear it. Quick rundown, some highlights. The opening track, The Art of Parties. 10 seconds into the song is what made me buy and get into Japan. I can't explain the songs. The bass is amazing, and the off-time kind of sound and the arrangement just pulled me in. The song Ghosts, it was actually covered by by Deftones, so you might want to check that song out. It's haunting, personal, and very minimal. I always kind of laugh when I put this on because you get these like Star Wars droid sounds going on. Bleeps and bloops and quips and all that stuff. So, and just an amazingly crafted chorus with the great percussive sounds and just non-traditional instrumentation. The song Still Life and Mobile Homes, side 2 track 1. Another one of my favorite side 2 track ones with Still Life and Mobile Homes. And yeah, title's a little pretentious sounding, but it's all right, and it's Japan. And did you ever see that episode of Family Guy when they're drowning, or they're getting ready to drown, I forget, and he's sitting there and he's like, I gotta admit, I've never seen The Godfather. It insists on itself. Japan, they kind of insist on themselves, but that's okay, because if you insist on yourself and you bring it, then it's genius and not pretentiousness, right? Anyway, maybe perhaps put a little too much thought into this video, but regardless, wanted to bring some 80s vibe to the table. I haven't done it in a while. I would look for a vinyl finds video coming up next. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I got some stuff I'm really excited about. Finally came out on vinyl. Didn't think I would ever see it released. All kinds of stuff. So, anyway, I hope you guys have a great start to your week. You guys do me a favor. Sub to Giza. Give him some watches, alright? I think it's this button. You can sub me. And this button, you can watch another video that's tailored just for you and your preferences. That's right, the algorithm. This is your video. Let's go ahead and check it out. Click like, subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for hanging out. Peace. I love you all. Have a great week. Bye-bye.